Hello, Australia, and welcome to the ship, the pirate ship, the PirateThink ship. This is an exciting moment for me because this is the first official podcast. I've finally found some space and some time and some clarity and clearness in my own mind to kind of sit down and, just make an official, I suppose, podcast or an official, a bit more deep dive into myself, what PirateThink is, what I'm here for, what I see, and all the other bits and pieces in between. So I'm excited. I'm like, this is a cool moment. And so I appreciate you for stopping in and watching this. And I think the start of all this is since about 3 weeks ago, starting to really put some content online about our political space and our current political mess, I suppose, because there's no other word for it at the moment. I just want to say that I have been overwhelmed by such amazing, beautiful people that have just flooded the comment section with encouragement and just great camaraderie around, the sense that we are all feeling, or a lot of people are feeling the exact same thing, and our words online are being twisted and attacked to show that we are, or prove that we are something that we are not. And look, I don't know, left, right, independent, whatever it is, the world has always been a mess of conflicting ideas, conflicting religions, conflicting everything. And I suppose for me, there's two aspects for it. I've kind of dabbled in YouTube and online content, and I love creating content. I used to run a small content creation agency. I love doing video. I love doing photography. I've got a really passion about that stuff. I also run a couple of businesses, so I've got a lot of detail and logistics in my life. I have a young family. Time is not always a freedom for me in such of obligations and just life stuff like a lot of us. I'm still very much running businesses while very much on the tools, while very much just doing what I do. And so maybe making this a priority hasn't been a thing for me. But there's an old saying that says people don't change until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same. And I feel I got to one of those moments in my personal journey of content creation and what I feel my calling is, what I feel. I've had this tattooed on my arm. This was the very first tattoo that I ever got, and it said, "You are chosen." And the premise behind "You are chosen" is that I feel we are all chosen, that every single person has a role to play. When you were born, the world needed a you for whatever reason that is, and it's up for us, the individual, to unpack and decipher what it is that I'm meant to be doing, not only in this life for yourself, but also what you are meant to be doing in this life for other people. I have a strong sense of community. I have a strong sense of justice that drives me. I decided to call it PirateThink instead of Pirate Thought, because naturally naturally my brain works very muddled at times, and the dictation or the words that I choose out of my mouth or that come out of my mouth are like slightly dyslexic and don't always make sense, but I feel the heart of what I try to say is always there. And I had to push past a lot of internal reflections of my inconsistency or my verbal diarrhea or whatever I might call it to find a place of stability in just being able to speak my mind without the fear of judgment. And it's not so much judgment like, oh, bro, you don't make sense, you're an idiot. It's judgment that my words would be taken out of context and used against me. And I think that's going to happen anyway. And I've actually got to a spot where I couldn't give a fuck, really. It's like, I'll justify myself if I need to, because I know the heart of who I am and the heart of what I am. And right now, I just feel that we are on the teeter-totter edge of a huge political unrest and a huge political, globally and nationally in Australia. And I kind of want to focus more on Australia stuff than I do globally. I know they're so entwined at the moment, but I think the voice cry at the moment is for Australian people to stand up and fight for Australia. So yeah, man, the community I've stumbled across on PirateThink and the guys that have just chimed in, you know, I love it so much when I read comments or I put a new post out and you start seeing those repetitive names of people that you don't know, but I see them comment and I catch glimpses of it as I scroll through the various comments, and just seeing their name there brings a smile both internally and externally, because I'm like, yeah, man, you're back and you're supporting and you're encouraging and you're on board with this, and that makes it so much more empowering for me to continue to invest time and energy and effort and emotional headspace and whatever it requires to do this, because it does. And I don't necessarily think about that too often. I just try and pour myself into it. But man, I don't know. Sometimes it's like a bit of a struggle. The feeling of like, am I going to be attacked for this? Am I going to go to jail for this? Whatever it might be. But yeah, I just really appreciate community. Thank you guys so much for stopping in and commenting and liking and sharing. And on that front, for me, I think it's really important. I think it's really important that I've had a few guys, one comment in particular that I could try and find, but it doesn't really matter too much. But one comment that stood out for me on one of my posts is the guy said, okay, Pirate, I'm up off the couch. I'm energized. I'm motivated. Now what do I do? And it was kind of like, I get it. It was this internal underlying passion around, you've incited this passion in me to go out and claim Australia and fight for our country and to do what I need to do. But what is that? And I think at the moment, what that is the liking, the commenting, the sharing, not for the sake of my views, not for the sake of my channel, not for the sake of me, but for the sake of Australia. And I try and do as much as I can, both on my personal profile and on Pirate, to like and engage and set the algorithm on path for other people, because I think we almost can't share and like and comment enough. I think this is a long-term game as we lead up to the next election in a year and a half's time. And there's a lot we can unpack about this, but I think making your voice heard in this kind of current climate, whether it is putting something out online like this or engaging and deciding, you know what, I'm just going to start putting videos out and raw videos or content that share an idea or a concept or what I as an Australian are feeling, or whether it's just simply liking and sharing. I think those bring such an incredible community and scale to things. It's kind of like the sign a petition because of things. And Australia in the past, part of our culture that's been taken advantage of is a bit of the old she'll be right. And I'm definitely one to put my hand up and say, I she'll be righted for too long. And I still think she will be right, but she's only going to be right now if we call ourselves to action. I think a big part of what I've felt in this last month and doing what I'm doing is it's exposed my algorithm and my feed to a really great new kind of set, and it's new for me, not new for social media, but a new sea of content creators out there in Australia that are willing to vocalize and are willing to call out the bullshit, willing to call out the injustice. And it's been really refreshing to me to know that the scale of people out there, from farmers in far west and North Queensland to city folk down in Melbourne, all with the same perspective, but from a different perspective, but the same drive, the same mission, the same bureaucracy that is causing so much. And it's exciting to me. And I think we can't underestimate the power of voices, and we can't underestimate the power of unity. And I think the days of political party like full agreements has kind of like shifted a little bit. And what I mean by that is we need to strip back to the essence of things, not like the hard line. And that kind of comes down to policy a little bit. I think we've got ourselves so jumbled in policy and standing on that, there's 500 policies that a party might have, and because I don't agree with one of these policies, now I'm wiping, or I'm discrediting them, and don't you know that, they're pro this or they're anti that or whatever it mean. But trying to look holistically at the parties and going, what direction are they taking our country? What direction are they taking our country when it comes to immigration, when it comes to housing, when it comes to cost of living, when it comes to security, when it comes to resource security, when it comes to keeping big corporate accountable, when it comes to, right? It's like, it's not the individualized policy anymore. It's like, what direction are they taking? And that kind of leads me into over the next year and a half, I'm pretty hell-bent on pushing Pauline Hanson and One Nation. And I've always thought Pauline's done a great thing, and I think she is a woman that has fought and fought and fought for 30 years to bring about awareness. She's had a strong sense of passion for the Australian way of life, the Australian culture, and the Australian people. She's been extremely upfront for many years about her stance on immigration and race, and she is actually the furthest from a racist that I've ever seen, and yet she has been slandered that for so many years, and she still just walks around with her head held high. And I commend her for her bravery. I commend her for her consistency. She is definitely one that has sacrificed her life. She has sacrificed, her reputation to be called so many different things over the years. And yeah, man, I just think she is just an incredible woman that has done a lot. And as I look at the landscape of the next year and a half as we head into this federal election, I want to champion Pauline and One Nation, not necessarily because I agree with all of their policy across the board. In fact, I'm sure there's some policy that I would have some comment on, that I would disagree on. But for me, it's like we have teeter-tottered this game of Liberal and Labor. And yeah, of course, we can talk about the Greens later, but essentially there's been this hierarchy of the Liberals and Labor, or the Liberal Nationals and Labor, that have kind of do-si-doed as the overarching, parties in the Australian political sphere. And I think where we are at right now in Australia is not a result of the last 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. I think it's a slow result of the last 20 years where people have been voting in these two parties thinking that there's going to be radical change, when the reality of it is voting for these two parties is essentially voting for the same direction or the same overall momentum that the Australian government has been embarking on and pushing on the Australian people. And so for me, one nation is like, I don't know, what's the saying? It's insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And Liberal Labor, we have done the same thing over and over again and expected a different result, but the trajectory has brought us to this place here. And I think all of them should be held accountable, really. Number one, they should not be on massive pensions and being paid for their beautiful service because, in my opinion, they fucked the country over the last 20 years. We've been bought out by big corporation, by gas, by gambling, by so many things. And if you're naive enough to think that we haven't, man, you're part of the problem as well. And so one nation is not necessarily the be-all and end-all answer for Australia moving forward. But hey, they are the catalyst that Australia needs to have a major shake-up and to shift what has been in our country to what can be in our country and bringing back some of those normalities and consistencies that doesn't bring about, oh, yay, now we've stopped all immigration, or yay, now we've got this or got that. What it's doing is the extreme ends of things are getting pulled back to a rational norm that can actually be assessed, understood, discussed, and then plans implemented based on clear information, not plans implemented based on a regime or an agenda or this is what we want to try do. In the next year and a half, we've got a big task, and I really think consistency of communicating as Australians what we are feeling, what changes we want made, because, the government is us. The government is the people. Their job from the get-go was to manage all of the things that made our life better. And we got to a stage where we plateaued on that, and then all of a sudden we got to this stage where governments thought, hang on a minute, we can have some level of control. And I don't want to spiral into any sort of conspiracy theory mindset, because I think sometimes, and the only reason I don't want to do that is because I think sometimes the conspiracy theory, once again, maybe the general consensus might be true, but I think sometimes it overfills with detail and data that confuses people and requires too much fact-checking to be fact, and people don't have the time. But once again, what I would look back on is the trajectory on where we are heading, where you can see very basic systematic steps that the government has taken over the last few years that has really hampered on cost of living, on government overreach, on government control over people, over body, over all sorts of stuff. And I think that trajectory needs to woe up, and that we need to put a line in the sand and say you are crossing the line of what you as the government are employed to do, and you are employed to do this by me giving you my money that I work for, my money that I do stuff for, that I give to you in good faith that you will manage the country and that you will manage the things that my money is going towards well, and for the common good of the common people. And they're just not doing it. Our schooling system, our hospital system, our housing system, our Medicare and GP clinics, our homeless situation. Our homeless situation is so out of control right now in the big cities, and yet we are continuing to pour into our country immigrants that are homeless, and we are giving them more of a chance and more sustainability and more consistency than any of our veterans or pensioners. And like pensioners at the moment, oh my God, I could get raged up about that because our pensioners have given to this country for 30 or 40 years. They have poured taxes into this country. They have built this country. And we sit here and we're going to give Albanese, for instance, $400,000, $500,000 for the rest of his life for the amazing job that he has done for our country, when he has done, in my opinion, fuck all. In fact, he is taken from our country. In fact, he has cost our country. In fact, he has derailed our country. In fact, he has lied to our country. And we have pensioners out there that have physically, tradies that have broken their body building our society, that have sacrificed their time with their family because they have built this country, that they have given of taxes, they have given of time, they have given of mental stability, they have given of emotional capacity. They have literally given of themselves for 30 plus years to this country, only to be slapped in the face and told, hey, if you sell your house, we're going to take a whole bunch of money off you. Hey, if you have more than this, we're going to take all this money off you. Hey, if you do that, you don't get your pension of like, what a pissy pension it is as well when you compare it to what some of these politicians and ex-politicians are getting. And these ex-politicians are getting this money on top of being able to work full-time jobs, on top of being able to have massive investments that continue to bring money into their pocket. This system and our political system has been built and has been developed by vicious dogs that live in our country, that run our country, and have set it on path to better their life and their life only. Because you know what? If the shit hits the fan and this country goes down the gurgler and there's civil unrest or civil war or World War III or massive food shortages and fuel shortages, guess who is going to be 100% okay? Not you and me. You and me are going to be taken into the principal's office of the government, and we are going to be beaten with a big stick and told, give your taxes, give your money, keep working, work in the shit. What do you mean you don't have fuel? Find a way to walk to work and carry your tools and keep building our society, you fucking dog. That's how we'll be treated. Why they continue to fly their family members to other parts of the world or country to come and visit. Why they get government cars and phones paid for and fuel paid for and trips paid for. Why they sit in question time and go, I'll take this on notice. Or they have their smug Katie Gallagher smirk while they're being questioned, knowing full well that they are in the wrong and that they're fucking our country. So for me, this podcast, these videos that I'm putting out, this stance that I want to make with PirateThink is about going, what needs to shift in this country? And you know, there's some massive big shifts we can do, but I am a solid and firm believer that the reason our country has got to where it is today is the same way that we get our country back. The way the country has got to where it is today is because small incremental steps, small incremental unnoticeable changes have been passed through Parliament. Bills have slowly been pushed through. Solicitors have slowly snaked their way into Parliament, writing these complex, vague policies and bills that get passed that slowly continue to strangle the common Australia and slowly begin to bring more and more power to the government with overreach. That's the way we get our country back. We need to right the ship. And if you know anything about ships, especially large ships, they don't turn quickly. They don't turn on a dime. What they turn how they turn and how they do a 180 is by slow incremental movements, by shifting a very small piece of the ship called a rudder and slowly beginning to start the arc. And Australia, we need to begin the arc. And how we do that is by small rudders, by you and me, by us vocalizing, by us connecting, by us agreeing, by us standing beside each other, by us commenting and liking and sharing and putting content out and bringing awareness and listening to Question Time and listening to Senate estimates and getting behind the politicians that are actually working for the Australian people. By calling out the injustice, by calling out the lies and the deceit, and calling these politicians to an account. That's how we get behind this. That's how we begin to right the ship. And I really think One Nation is a catalyst. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. One Nation for me right now is the vehicle, and the dark forces, the people that have been labeled by Anthony Albanese, the people that have been labeled as the dirt of society or the dark side of society. We now have a branding. We now have a name. We now have a unity. And there's unity in One Nation and Pauline, but like I said at the start of this, I don't think they're the be-all and end-all of what this is. They are the vehicle that will begin to drive change, but us people, the dark forces out there, the type of people that do support One Nation, or even some people that might support or maybe back in the day did support Labor a bit more or did support Nationals or did support Liberals, but have got to a stage that's saying, I don't know where this countries are heading and I don't agree with the policies of a lot of these people, or even if I do agree with them, I don't agree with the trajectory of our country and we need a change in where our country is heading. You're the people. You're the dark forces. And let me tell you, One Nation is the vehicle in the next year and a half when we come to a federal election, in the next state elections as they come up. Find out who your candidates are. Are you going to agree with all their policies? No, but surely you don't agree with all of Labor's policies right now. Surely you don't agree with all of Liberals' policies right now. This is not just policy-based voting anymore. This is Australia-wide national community going, where do we want this country to go? Do we want our country to be self-sufficient in oil? Fucking yes. Are you kidding me? We have oil. We have major oil reserves. We used to refine in this country. It brings manufacturing back. It brings industrial jobs back. It brings self-sufficiency back. It brings consistency back. It brings reliability back. How come we are not in the midst of this war while we are bleeding fuel and oil? And as much as the Labours will bullshit like they bullshitted over the last however many years, they are bullshitting now on the severity of the situation we're in. But go and talk to a farmer who busts his ass supplying food for this country, and they are asked to do it basically without their arms and legs. Fuel is the resource. Diesel is the resource. Coal is the resource that keeps all of this fucking running. And the gas, the coal, the oil, all of it, we are pissing up the wall. All of it, our government has set the trajectory of us being open and exposed as a country and weak and relying on other countries with backroom handshake deals that none of us Australians agreed with, that none of us Australians asked for. And yet they have used our tax dollars to do campaigns to blind the common Australian. They've used back rooms. They've used complex wording. They've used government overreach to leave us vulnerable and exposed. And when questioned about it, will lie to us. And for me, I want change. I want jobs to come to our country. I want red tape stripped of our building codes and our councils. I want freedom for people to explore and develop and grow. I want opportunity. Do you know how much housing we could have right now if the Australian government and councils and state government actually got behind the common people of Australia and said, you know what? Go and build houses on your property. Go and put tiny homes on your property. Go and have an opportunity to make some more money as an individual, as a business. Go and thrive in this country and find an opportunity that sets apart more jobs, more opportunity, builds more houses, gives more relief, so many things, but yet we are overrun with government overreach. And I'm done with it. And you should be done with it as well, not just for you, but for your children. And if you don't have children, for your neighbor's children, for your community. I really didn't think episode 1 would go like this. I want it to be more like, welcome to Pirate. But I think this passion, as I look in my own businesses and at my own staff and the people I deal with and the companies that I deal with and the community and my family and my children, and when I look at what has happened between now and 20 years ago, and I think when my children are in their mid-20s, early 30s, the exponential curve of progression on so many things, AI, technology, computing, systems, processes, government. When I see how far we've come in 20 years, I'm fearful for the next 20 years. I'm fearful for my children. I sit here with anxiety going, and I did for many years, sat here going, what can I do? I'm only one voice. I'm only one person. But I think the pain of changing has finally got to the stage where it is less than the pain of staying the same. And the same pirate that felt these fears and anxieties and didn't know that I could be a voice, or didn't feel empowered to be in voice, or felt she'll be right, someone else will be the voice, has finally got to the stage where I'm putting my foot down and I'm going, I will be a fucking voice until my dying day, or until there is change. And even once the change begins, I will champion it. I will champion my children to be a voice of change, because they don't deserve to live in a country where they are not free. We are the land of the free. I just want to wrap this podcast up by saying I appreciate everyone that has stopped by and said these comments and that are fighting behind this common cause as I am. And the common cause at a bare minimum is that idea that where we are currently heading as a country does not feel safe, secure, stable. There is people hurting out there. There's billions of dollars in NDIS that are designed to protect and help people, and it is being raped and pillaged by foreigners, by immigrants, by people that have been taken in by us and given love and housing and support and understanding. And we have done that because I think that's just the Australian way. The Australian way of life. And I'm going to do a couple of series. I want to chat to a whole bunch of people. I want to start to get an understanding of what is the culture in Australia that we are protecting. One of the biggest comments I see as I wrap up, one of the biggest comments I see at the moment on social media when people like myself or other people question or fight about saying, you know, we need to protect our way of life. We need to protect our history. We need to protect who we are as Australian. People fight back and it's like, well, what is your culture? Who are you as Australian? You know, oh, you want to put another bloody snag on the Barbie, you know what I mean? Or they belittle our culture, or they belittle who we are and where we've come from and what makes us Australian. And there is actually there's so much beauty that makes up who we are as Australians. And I want to start doing a series on who we are as Australia, because I want to bring our identity to the forefront of people's minds. I want to bring our identity of who we are as a country, who we are as a nation, who we are as a people, and what we developed from and what we have developed to. Because I think who we have developed to is a beautiful people. I think the Australian culture, which is why we are multicultural, because the type of people that we are as Australians, we have opened our homes and our hearts to so many different people from around the world. We are multicultural, but these multicultures come to Australia because of the heart and because of who the Australian people are and because of what the Australian people made Australia into. So I'm going to be on here. I'm going to be giving my opinion. My opinion may be wrong at times and it may be right at times, but I am still going to be giving it, and I'm still going to be fighting for the Australian people and for what I believe is right and true and just for our country. So thank you all for tuning in to PirateThink. Thank you all for continuing to love and support. If you want to continue to support this movement, not of PirateThink, but support this movement of Australia-wide dark forces, I have some shirts available. Thank you for those who have already purchased shirts. I have some shirts available that are Dark Force Crew. And if you want to join the National Dark Force Crew and wear proudly your opinion that you want to see some change in Australia, then grab yourself a Dark Force Crew. Thank you for chiming in. Pirate out. Cheers.